Greetings and salutations. Happy post-Labor Day. My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz, who has a very odd grin on his face. This is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named Query and Schultz program on ISC Sports Network. Derek, it is show number 51, and already we're going to have a source of contention between the two of us.
Okay.
Well, you have it as Randy Johnson.
Yeah. Randy Johnson, you could make an argument that Randy Johnson is the greatest pitcher in Major League history.
Okay. That's fine.
So why are you mad about this?
Because he wears a mullet and he's a jackass, right? He is the arch enemy of a friend of the show, Jack Trudeau, who's always been good to us.
I forgot about him.
Grew
and
up with
Trudeau.
Randy Johnson. I can't stand him. How about Dick Butkus?
We just did a Bears linebacker. We just did
I know,
Singletary.
but here's the thing. This is an interesting question. Which is more a slam dunk as the best at their position? Randy Johnson as pitcher or Dick Butkus as linebacker?
I think Randy Johnson is pitcher because there have been a lot of great linebackers. You know, I don't think – I mean, maybe I'm biased because I grew up a Giants fan. LT was a better player than Dick Butkus.
Dick Butkus is the –
right?
Dick Butkus is the face of the linebacker of his era. Like, he's the definition of, like, mean, surly, and so is Randy Johnson, for that matter, in pitchers. But I think Randy Johnson, Derek, was a great pitcher. I don't know. I think Dick Butkus, over the course of his career, was more definitively the best linebacker in football than Randy Johnson was definitively the best pitcher during his time pitching.
Jake, Randy Johnson won the Cy Young Award 5 times.
Understood? I understand that.
5 times he won that.
I understand that. Yep. No, I totally
5
get
of
it.
them.
Right. Okay.
5. He led the league in strikeouts 9 times.
No, I know. He's a great player.
He was the ERA leader 4 times.
I'm not, but Derek, and this is what happens sometimes when we debate things. You take it as me knocking down Randy Johnson. That's not it.
Okay.
I'm simply pointing out the dominance of Dick Butkus.
I just think you were a little too incredulous when you said Randy Johnson. Really, that's all that I mean.
Okay. What I'm saying is this. When Randy Johnson was pitching, in his time pitching, if you were to ask Major League Baseball fans, who's the best pitcher in baseball? I'm not saying they would have been right, but I think you would have had a higher percentage of people that would have presented the name Curt Schilling or Roger Clemens or Pedro Martinez or different pitchers.
Well, Greg Maddux. Yeah, it was a great era for pitchers.
There would have been a higher percentage of people who were presented as alternates to Randy Johnson than there would have been during Dick Butkus' era if you stopped people and said, who's the best linebacker in football? Dick Butkus would have gotten a higher percentage of votes than would Randy Johnson have as a pitcher. That's all. Maybe it's because there were more pitchers. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
But I do agree.
I would rather go Randy Johnson.
I do agree coming off of Mike Singletary.
A, because we just did Singletary, right. And B, the Indianapolis tie, being a former Indianapolis Indian. So that's
okay,
why I
that
went
is
that
fair.
way.
I'm surprised the shop hasn't done a Randy Johnson shirt. Is there
I don't know what all they have licensing for because the Indians like to make their own shirts and sell them in their own shop.
Randy Johnson, by the way, noted IndyCar fan. He goes every year to the Grand Prix of Long Beach and takes pictures as a regular photographer.
Yeah, he likes to. Photography was like his big, kind of side passion besides killing birds and striking out people.
Killing birds, I forgot about that. He didn't. Yeah. He didn't take liking.
Heroic.
Yeah, okay.
Heroic. Did his part.
By the way, I want to thank Ball State University for having us out last week for the Cardinals' home opener. Of course, they got to win over Western Illinois, and now the Cards getting set for, as we talked about, that road trip, Penn State, Wyoming, before they get into MAC play. But Ball State kicking off the college football season, Derek, plenty to talk about, including Purdue, Indiana, and then the elites as well. Not saying those two aren't elite in college football, but college football is off and running.
It is, and it was great. It was great to see the atmosphere. What was it, the Friday night game in Blacksburg, Virginia Tech, and the fans there. I know, look, I get it with COVID and everything like that, but apparently like 95% of the Virginia Tech student body is vaccinated. It's outdoors. Like, you know, Jake, you and I have both taken this thing pretty seriously, right? But when it comes to outdoor transmission, it feels like the numbers are much, much lower, especially considering the amount of vaccination compared to, like, let's say last fall if you had a packed stadium. So I just wanted to make sure my thoughts were clear on that.
Right.
The atmosphere at Florida State was unbelievable for their game against Notre Dame. I thought the Georgia-Clemson game, even though that was like a rock fight, I thought the atmosphere was great for that game well. It was just great. Football happened last year, sure, but it didn't really feel – it was kind of like the Indy 500.
I agree.
It happened, but did it really kind of happen, you know? And it was nice to have that sort of normalcy back.
I think what is interesting to me in college football is – and this has been the case for the last few years, admittedly. But it feels like, Derek, we have a very already clear understanding of who the playoff teams are going to be. And we're week one, I realize.
Yeah.
But let's look at it this way. Ohio State. Ohio State's got Oregon coming up.
Yeah.
It's in Columbus. If Ohio State wins that game, the path is pretty clear for them. Right?
And Oregon's really always been a lot of sizzle and not a lot of –
Correct.
They've had a lot of success.
But all I'm saying is Ohio State, would you agree? Ohio State gets past that hurdle. It seems pretty clear. It's a very clear path for Ohio State, right?
They control their own destiny.
Correct. Okay.
Sure.
Alabama.
Yeah. Alabama could lose and still they'll be fine. Alabama has – that's what they've earned. Alabama has to lose twice to miss the playoff.
If Oklahoma runs the table –
yeah.
They're in.
Even though they did not look good.
Okay, so let's say Oklahoma stubs their toe. No worries. Georgia, if they run the table and only lose to Alabama in the SEC championship game,
be in good shape too.
then Georgia would be in.
Awfully tough to do.
Because it is, but they've already beaten Clemson. It was a top 5 team.
Yeah, I know.
And then Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is the one that's sitting, I think, the prettiest because I don't think Notre Dame's overly great. I think they're very good. But Notre Dame's schedule, Derek?
Well, they've got some pitfalls there. They've got USC is highly regarded for once this year. They're ranked in the top 15. North Carolina just lost, so that's going to take a little bit of luster off that. Cincinnati's a top 10 team.
Okay.
I'm missing somebody.
Navy?
No, there's
Purdue?
there's somebody else in there. Well, they play those two teams, but there's somebody else in there that's ranked.
Toledo?
Well, Jake, if you want to talk about easy pass, I mean, Clemson's going to be a 2-touchdown favorite from here on out.
No question.
I mean, they've got nobody left.
I don't think Clemson has a way in.
Clemson needs help. Clemson doesn't control their own destiny anymore. I think that's their problem.
The one thing for Clemson that I would say is if Clemson were to run the table, you would think that it's going to be difficult for them to leave an undefeated ACC champion out, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think if Clemson runs the table, they're going to get in because I think they're going to have enough help.
But I don't think Clemson's
in.
good enough to run the table.
Well, you're basing that on a 1-touchdown loss to a top 3 team?
But their offense was anemic, Derek. They had negative 2 rushing yards.
Georgia's defense is freaking ridiculous.
It is unbelievable.
It's freaking ridiculous. I mean,
really
it's National Overreaction Week. And I just don't want to go too Wisconsin as well, who also lost. But that's the other game that Notre Dame has that is against a ranked opponent.
My point being, Notre Dame, I think, Notre Dame has a very clear path laid out for them. They have to win out. They have to win out.
Notre Dame, to me, Notre Dame looks far more like a 9-3, 10-2 team than I guess it depends. You know, if Jack Cohn is as good as he was on Sunday night, then they're really going to have a chance. He was great.
Right.
But to me, this team takes a little bit of a step. This team is not as good as last year's team or the 2018 team, in my opinion. I think it's more like the 2019 team that lost 2 games and won the Camping World Bowl.
I will say this, and I'm not saying this because I'm not a huge Notre Dame fan. Excluding Clemson, because I think Clemson would need help getting in. The other teams that we mentioned, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Alabama, any of those 3, if they were to get in Georgia, any of those 4, if they played Alabama in a national semifinal game in the playoffs, would absolutely blast them. Alabama would, Notre Dame
would get stopped.
Notre Dame, I mean, If Alabama, Oklahoma, Ohio State, or Georgia were to face Notre Dame in a national semifinal playoff game, Notre Dame would get blasted.
Oklahoma just needed to survive an onside kick from Tulane, so I think people give Oklahoma a little. What has Oklahoma ever won?
Okay,
they've been undressed plenty of times in the playoffs. I mean, they had the great game against Georgia, but the top 3, Jake, are Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama, and then everybody else. Oklahoma is far closer to Notre Dame's tier than they are to the elite tier.
Did you say Georgia? Georgia just beat Clemson.
Georgia's just they might be better. Georgia's kind of in that in between of those two
I think
tiers,
Georgia's
but they
really good.
haven't won the championship.
Georgia's offense did not look good against Clemson, but their defense was unbelievable.
Look, I totally agree with you, but if we're just going on track record, Bama's got the titles, Ohio State has a title, Clemson has the title, right? And Georgia's big reputation is that they can't win that game.
That means nothing to me. In looking at this year, I don't care about what teams did. I mean, if that's the case, then the playoffs are going to be Navy because they won a ton of Heisman's in the 50s. Navy's
You're misunderstanding. You're not on that tier until you break through and win a championship. The top three is the top three. Nobody breaks through there until somebody else wins.
Again, but what I'm talking about this season and assessing the teams that have the best chance. This
Georgia
season
is on tier 1.
Correct.
But I completely disagree about Oklahoma looked like garbage in week 1. Like if Notre Dame had to survive an onside kick against Tulane, it'd be national news. Everybody'd be like, look at Notre Dame again. And Oklahoma somehow gets a pass for that. Oklahoma beats up on a bunch of Big 12 teams. They win 55-51. Like, who cares? I don't view them like I view Alabama and Clemson and Georgia and those other teams. I just don't.
Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, those three to me.
They're a cut above.
Are correct. And then you have a 4th spot, and I think Notre Dame or Oklahoma would be in the best spot for those spots. But what's interesting is Clemson, if they were to run the table, they're an undefeated ACC champion. How do you leave them out? Undefeated within the conference, I mean.
The good news for the ACC is that they really need Florida State to be good and relevant, and maybe finally Florida State is finding their way.
They need somebody to make up for North Carolina looking.
Louisville sucks. I mean,
Louisville struggled.
The league, it's not Clemson's fault, but the rest of the teams, like when Clemson was ascending in 2015, Louisville was great. FSU was coming off a championship.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's just the league's gone like this since then.
And Syracuse and Vatek were competent.
Yeah.
Now,
maybe Vatek's competent now.
The good news for you folks out there that are fans of Indiana University, the Fightin' Hoosiers, LEO, is that we have gone now nearly 5 minutes of talking about college football and have not discussed the complete faceplant disaster that was Indiana's game against Iowa, which in every way, shape, or form that could have gone wrong went wrong.
Sometimes, in your head, you put out the worst case scenario, and it's even worse than the worst case scenario, and that's what Saturday's game was in Kinnick. Kinnick is a really tough place to play. Iowa is a tough team to play, and their fans are amazing. Jake, that game was over in 5 minutes.
Totally.
It was over in 5 minutes.
Yep.
Michael Penix looked like a true freshman, I have no idea what I'm doing type quarterback. And it's not all on him. The offense was terrible. Tom Allen, there are a lot of people that have to wear Indiana's performance. I thought the defense, given the circumstances, was okay.
Just wear a jersey, Derek, that is spelled correctly.
Well, that too.
How does that happen?
I mean, a great indication of how the afternoon was going to go.
How does Indiana – I'm asking Indiana and Adidas this. How do you send a guy out? And here's the thing. It wasn't even a misspelling of like INDINA.
2 letters flipped or something,
They
had
like 3 I's.
I don't know.
In it. We're talking about the jersey misspelling, by the way, that became a viral photo of an Indiana player going out on the field, INDIAINIA or something. I mean, it was like, what is going on here? How possibly
I don't know.
Do they let that slide?
I don't know.
If you want to talk about attention to detail,
put them in a practice jersey.
The Ohio States, the Georgias, the Clemsons, attention to detail. It's great to sit there and spout off about LEO and look at all the great things we're doing, and you got to have attention to detail. I'm not saying Indiana can't have it, but they didn't have it against Iowa.
And to be fair, Jake, and look, I know it was embarrassing and a blowout and all of that. This is a process. Indiana isn't just going to be a great program overnight. It's going to take years and years to build that up. Look at Northwestern. It took Northwestern broke through and made the Rose Bowl in '95.
Well, Derek,
it took them years and years to get the consistency that
Iowa
they have now.
a great program?
No, but that's the bar, I think, for Indiana.
Right. And what I'm saying is, so I don't even know that a great program is attainable in our lifetime.
Okay, a very good – you're not going to be a good to very good program
Indiana's
overnight.
Problem, and look, I don't want this to come off like we're bashing Indiana because of overreaction, because of one game. But just speaking in totality here, the thing that Indiana needs to caution about, and Purdue, both, I've said this a million times, the best era of Indiana football was the Bill Mallory era in terms of consistent competitiveness. The best era of Purdue football of late was the Joe Tiller era in terms of consistent competitiveness. both times, both programs got a little bit greedy and said, you know what, we're in the Minnesota-Iowa category here. We want to go next level, baby. We want to go up into Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan. Now, Wisconsin was able to do that, and credit to Wisconsin for that. But I think you need to be realistic. If you're Indiana or Purdue, you need to you can't skip steps. And the next step is to get to the Minnesota, Iowa, and I'll put Michigan State in that group, although Michigan State kind of
they've come back
flirt
down
with being higher up. But get into that group first, and then we'll talk about where you can go.
Yeah, I just think if Indiana, at the end of the day, with a 34-6 loss to Iowa, if Indiana has an 8-4 season where they win,
which is doable,
right? Where they win both their trophy games, so the Spittoon, which you love, against Michigan State, and the Old Oaken Bucket against Purdue, and then hopefully finally end the bowl drought. If Indiana goes 9-4, to me, that's a hugely successful season.
I would totally agree with that.
And I think the problem is that it's fine to strive for more than that. But the problem is that I think with this season that they had last year, that they need to go 10-2 and get to a New Year's Six bowl. That would be great.
There was just an awful lot of talk about Indiana coming in where they set, and I'm not saying it's Indiana's fault, but it was set up for that.
If you go 8-4 and win the Music City Bowl, Jake, they should throw a parade for that. Right. Like with where, and I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm serious. Like if Indiana has to prove that the last 2 years were legit, the worst thing that could happen for Indiana is to go 4-8.
Right.
And I don't think that's the case. I think Iowa's good, and I think you just had a disastrous performance, but they got to get a lot better. Particularly Penix has to be much, much better.
In the case of Purdue, Purdue gets a win on a dreary night at Ross Aid, but it was packed, and that's cool. And everything
great
else.
Crowd.
Great. And Purdue gets a win over Oregon State. Now, Oregon State is not. I mean, you're talking about Oregon State is basically the Indiana of the Pac-12. Okay, but it's still, you're playing a Power 5 school, and you're getting a win. I thought for Purdue, I like Purdue doing that versus, let's say, bringing in South Carolina State and playing them.
I agree. I mean, among the most irrelevant Power 5 programs is Oregon State, probably. But that said, it's a Power 5 team. And this was kind of, I don't want to say a 50-50 game because Purdue was a 7-point favorite, but it was one of those games where if you win, you can still see, okay, bowl eligibility and all the things that Purdue wants to accomplish. If you lose, then you start really worrying about what the season is about to be for them.
Indiana's answer to bettering themselves is getting better quarterback play first and foremost. Okay, that was obvious. For Purdue to improve upon that, what area is it that is where Purdue says this is what we have to do?
Well, I think they got to run the ball better because they have not done that very well, certainly not last season.
But this guy here, Derek.
Yeah, I mean, he's unbelievable. He has 8 catches for 134 yards, and you're just like, whatever.
David Bell.
Yawn.
David Bell of Warren Central. By the way, the shop T-shirts for David Bell are available. TheShopIndy.com, 918 Broad Ripple Avenue, Clay Terrace. David Bell, 11 games now as a Boilermaker, over 100
Out
yards
of
receiving?
16, I think, or whatever it is. Yeah, it's incredible. But if they get quarterback play like they got from Jack Plummer, they're going to be in really good shape. I thought that was a really nice – it's not a debut because he started games before.
Right.
But he won that QB1 job, and he wanted to show why he won it, and I think he did. I mean, I thought Purdue defensively was fantastic. They gave up the early score quickly, but then after that, they really kind of controlled the rest of the game. So I thought it was, they've got Uconn next week, which is essentially a bye week. So they're going to be 2-0.
It is. And Uconn –
heading to Notre Dame.
I mean – UConn not only is terrible, but now we know that they're their coach is leaving.
Yeah, they need to go. They need to go back to FCS, which is what my brother-in-law wants.
Your brother-in-law's a UConn fan.
Yeah, he was at the Holy Cross game with his dad.
What's UConn's football stadium like?
Rensselaer Field is what it's called. It's just outside of Hartford, and it's pretty nice. UConn was in the 90s was a good 1AA program. And then they decided to transition to Division I, and there was a lot of feeling like, oh, my God, what are they doing? And then as an independent in 2003, they won 9 games because they had Orlowski. And then in 2004, when Orlowski was a senior, they went to the Motor City Bowl and won and finished 3rd in the Big East. And they had a nice run. They went to the Fiesta Bowl in 2010. Right. They won Darius Butler. They had a couple of good NFL players, Donald Brown, who both, of course, ended up being with the Colts. And then Edsel left for Maryland. and they hired Paul Pasqualoni, formerly at Syracuse, and the program just went like this. They got Bob Diaco, the former defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, and it was just a disaster. And now they're terrible. I mean, they are.
That's an impressive.
Not only are they
slew of name polls.
Not only are they the worst team. Well, I hear about it because my brother-in-law texts me all the time. So I'm a UConn football expert. They're not only the worst program in FBS. There are probably 15 to 20 FCS programs that are better than UConn.
Is this the brother-in-law that wanted to fight me?
Yeah, because you sent an expletive to my sister.
No, I sent it
disgusting.
to you on a group text, and you didn't tell me.
You
there were
told
others. By the way,
my sister to do something to herself that is. I have
a gift for you. Even though you have your brother-in-law wanting to fight me, I brought you a gift.
I don't know.
Do you want me to do it? Give it to you next?
Okay, we can do that.
And we need to get into the Colts discussion as well because NFL season is upon us. It is the Colts. It is the Seahawks to kick things off. But how many wins will the Colts be able to tabulate this year? That, among other topics, as we continue here on Query and Schultz on ISC.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Shot at the buzzer. She got it! Oh my goodness, what a shot!
Brady, hello! Did it again. Hello! Made the highlight reel again. That goes to Mentor and all kind of room to run. Down the middle of the field, and he will not be touched. Jackson, hello! There we go.
Stokes throws it, caught, ball ricochets.
Wow.
A huge hit.
Wow!
This has been an amazing display of goal scoring.
Welcome back. It's Query and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network, the Season 1 finale. We're already a year into this.
Season 1, okay.
Well, this is when viewership always spikes for a season finale.
Oh,
so
yeah,
we've
okay.
got millions of households
Sure.
tuned in to watch this right now because they want to see how the season ends.
I didn't know that we were doing seasons.
We have
but
to hold people in suspense.
We are signed for how many seasons, Derek? Has our season been renewed?
That has been an open-ended sort of discussion.
Do we know if there's a renewal for season 2?
I'm not at liberty
I'm
to
on
discuss
season 2 of Ted Lasso. Where
some
are you
of the
on Ted
business
Lasso?
going. I've never seen 1 second of it.
Okay.
I don't pay for Apple TV. $5.99 a month. I just
It's
not
worth
willing
it
to
for
do
Ted
it.
Lasso.
Yeah, would rather buy a latte.
I have a gift for you, by the way.
Okay. Oh boy, more mints.
They're more than just mints.
Oh God.
Do we
They're
have a
gonna be
sponsor that we
condescending.
need to mention, though?
Yeah.
While
do
you
they,
do
do
that,
they want to be associated with this?
Yeah, they will not be
Are you
disappointed.
sure?
I will prepare.
Because I feel bad because we attach Mike Wood and Bailey and Wood to some things that they don't want to be attached to.
Like what?
Oh, actually, the toilet malfunction was Chateau last
My
week.
dad
wasn't
mentioned
it?
that. My dad said,
Okay.
"Tell Derek."
Tone it down a little bit. Yeah. Usually it's your mom that I hear from when there's something on the show she
I
doesn't
believe
like.
potty talk was
Okay.
what he used.
I'm sorry, Mr. Query. I'd say Lloyd, but I said that one time and I got scolded. So
Yeah, he does not like
I
that.
don't want to call him Lloyd. Indiana's hometown mortgage lender
That's right.
is Bailey and Wood Financial Group. BAWFG.com, 855-350-HOME.
Mortgage and a snap.
Looking to refinance, you can do that with Bailey and Wood. If you are looking to be pre-approved for a mortgage, you can do that with Bailey and Wood. And they do a lot of other things as well.
BAWFG.com.
Got to get all your ish in order
BAWFG.com.
if you are buying a house.
Right.
Market has cooled down. It's the fall now. People
Listen.
are kind of settled in, but it's still burning pretty hot.
Bailey and Wood is a family business, locally owned and operated, so your money's staying right here. And whenever you got a company that is, of course, working with everybody in the family, you know that they can be trusted. In addition to that, very philanthropic, dedicated to the community, BAWFG.com.
Mike Wood's son
That's right.
Who you like to
Mike
Woodson.
Yeah.
Had
Mike
crazy sock day at school, so he
Oh, really?
posted a picture of him this morning with wacky socks on. It was pretty cool.
What
I guess
socks
he
is he
slept
wearing?
in them last night.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had a Tua shirt on too. They're big Dolphins fans.
Well, that's one of the teams that we're going to talk about here upcoming. Put your little hand out.
No, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. Like, put your little hand out. I will extend my manly hand.
But you need to look that way. You can't look at the spoiler here.
Is it going to be wet?
No, these are
Okay.
Tic Tacs.
If it's wet, I'm punching
These are
you
Tic
right in the
Tacs,
eye.
but I need you to. Okay.
What are you doing?
I'm putting a few Tic Tacs in your
Okay.
hand. Okay, now.
Okay.
What I need you to do is because I know that you.
I dropped one.
Okay.
Do you still don't want me to look at them?
You need to go ahead without looking. Put them in your mouth.
Okay, well, hold on.
No, just put them in your
right.
mouth.
It's not like drugs.
Now,
drugs
don't,
are just like
you need,
candy.
you need to suck on them slightly. Now, these are without Derek
Gross.
looking. Derek, close your eyes. Close your eyes.
Okay.
This is the flavor of Tic Tac that Derek is enjoying. If you could, I don't know if we can zoom in on that. Probably not. But that's the flavor. I don't think the camera's going to show the flavor. But can you guess what the flavoring is? First off, what do you think of it?
Not my favorite. Coca-Cola?
It is Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
These are Coca-Cola flavored Tic
favorite
Tacs. Why?
I mean, I'll still eat them up. Don't get me wrong, but
Here.
you know the problem is
There you go. I bought these because I'm a nice guy, and this is the kind of coworker I am.
aftertaste, too.
I bought these for Derek. Limited edition. I think it even says, yep, limited edition right there. Made with Coca-Cola.
Here's
the
the problem.
Coca-Cola Tic Tacs. I bought them for Derek.
Here's the problem with soda candy. Soda candy always tastes like flat soda, and I don't like flat soda.
This, if you
Like my wife would like this. She likes to every once in a while get a Diet Coke and leave it out for like 3 weeks, and then drink it. It's disgusting. I hate flat soda.
if you let it sit for a second on the palate,
I don't like them.
then you can taste the fizz.
I don't like it. I think it's cute that they individually branded each one with the Coca-Cola logo. But I mean, thanks. I guess it's not a demeaning gift, but it's just. I think I've mentioned before that I don't like the Coca-Cola Tic Tacs.
You've never
I
had
gotta
them
mention
before.
that. I feel like we had talked about this on the show. You sometimes beat things into the ground on the show. I think that's the problem, where you just like keep bringing it up over and over again. And
You've never even had them
We've
before.
kind of moved on from that. Speaking of moving on, let's talk Colts. Week 1 against Seattle, and it looks like where we sit today, taping this Tuesday morning, it's going to run Tuesday
Now,
night.
we typically say that, and then as soon as we get off the air, all of a sudden
Everyone's got COVID.
yeah, some big announcement comes, right? So expect Jonathan Taylor actually to decide to retire from football in the next hour. But
It is a little frustrating. And we've got actually an exciting announcement to kind of combat against that in football season, which we're going to tell you about in season 2.
Oh, really?
With a new day and new time for Query and Schultz.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was that?
Just me giving the thumbs up.
But why do you bite your lip like that?
It's just normal.
You look.
It's
I mean,
people
we're not
giving the
supposed to do.
thumbs up.
We're not supposed to do potty talk, but you look constipated when you.
How do you
that.
give a thumbs up? Yeah, so you're doing like a lip thing?
No.
No, but the first time you did it, you did like a lip thing. So don't.
Do you have hitchhiker thumb? You don't have hitchhiker thumb, do you?
What is that? What are we doing? Are we going to talk about like football
Hitchhiker
and
thumb.
sports?
Hitchhiker thumb
What-
means your
what
your
is
thumb
this?
either goes straight up or it hitchhikes. That's hitchhiker thumb.
What happened to you?
I have hitchhiker thumb. Just like earlobes. Your earlobes.
Like you were attacked by a hitchhiker and he bent your thumb back, or what? What
That's
happened?
just- it naturally comes that way. Now your earlobes connected or disconnected?
They're loose
Okay.
because I've gotten them pierced. Well, I had cartilage pierced and then 1, 2.
But you've got your thumb is interesting. You have a straight up thumb. You don't have hitchhiker.
I do. Yeah, I have perfect appendages.
Okay, sure.
As
If
my
you
mom
say
said,
so.
God really broke the mold when he made me. Let's talk Colts because Carson Wentz looks like he's going to play. And he's been trending up for the last couple of weeks. But even with the close contact last week and not being able to practice, with at least where we sit today, as long as tomorrow's practice, Wednesday's practice goes well, Carson Wentz is going to be your starter
Right.
in week 1. So that's a relief. You know, we can get
And-
into the Colts vaccine stuff and all that. I mean, there's a lot of tension right now, but that on the field is a relief.
Yeah, I think in terms of on the field, what the Colts have in terms of their roster is very good. I think they've got a very good roster. I think they're talented. I think they've got some depth. The line is still a little bit of concern, in particular on the left-hand side, but we now know that, Fisher is going to be available, maybe not right away, but we know that certainly in the first quarter of the season he is going to be available. I think the Colts are going to be able to run the football. We now know the depth chart at the running back position. There is no surprise Jonathan Taylor is your lead, then Hines, Marlon Mack, followed by Wilkins. But I think they're all going to see significant snaps. They do have, Pittman is your primary receiver. Paris Campbell is your secondary receiver. No T.Y. Hilton to start. I don't know how big that really is other than maybe as kind of a decoy guy. Derek, I think the roster is good. I think the Colts are in a very good position here. The question simply becomes, and I understand, folks, I totally get why the vaccine conversation is tiresome and feels laborious at this point and feels redundant. I totally get it. The reason why it keeps coming up is because when you look at this roster, there's not a lot that is of question except for how consistently available some of those players are going to be. And because of the way the NFL protocol is set up when it comes to being in contact with COVID, vaccine versus non-vaccine, that's where that conversation keeps coming into play because it has to be accounted for.
Yeah, 17 games, right? So if I gave you an over-under on how many Colts, let's say, losses come from, specifically can be drawn from COVID protocols with players missing, Kelly, Nelson, Pascal, Wentz, Leonard, just the guys that we know about. We know that it goes deeper than that. If I set the over-under at 2.5, would you take the over or the under?
I'd take the under.
Okay. Me too.
I think it could cost them a
But I
game.
think, you tell me if this is too harsh. I think whatever season prediction you have for the Colts, like let's say that you think the Colts are going to be a 12-win team, I think you have to minus 2 wins from that because of the competitive disadvantage that they've put themselves in now. Like we can sit here until we're blue in the face and talk about masks and vaccines and, well, I saw this on Facebook. Whatever. I'm not interested in doing any of that. You guys can go and do that. I'm tired of it. You guys know where I stand on the vaccine. I think you know where Jake stands as well. So I'm not interested in that. But one thing that can't be argued and it can't be disputed is that the Colts have put themselves at a tremendous competitive disadvantage to go into the season like this and accepting a lot of risk. Now, it might work. Sometimes you roll the dice and it hits. But sometimes you roll and it ends up blowing up in your face. And, if we sit here 4 months from now and the Colts season completely explodes because of this, it's their fault. And the fans have the right to be extremely angry about that, not only with the players themselves, but with the organization as well.
I think the one thing I don't agree with, and again, I know that we said, I don't necessarily want to get into some huge vaccination thing, but when people say, like when Chris Ballard comes out and says, I can only do so much, there's some truth to that. But is there?
They're your guys.
What if the Colts say the Colts don't have to make roster decisions like Urban Meyer claims he did because of the NFLPA? The vaccine should not factor into roster decisions based on the NFLPA. What if you say in a meeting, hey, we have decided that in order to prepare ourselves for the best scenario, we want to make sure that we're preparing each and every game with the guys that have the least chance of not being available. So if you're not vaccinated, you can be on this football team, but you're not going to start. You're not a starter. And you just push it out there and you say, that's what I'm doing. Have they gone to that length?
So you're not starting Wentz, Ryan Kelly.
It's ridiculous,
Quentin
I realize,
Nelson.
but
That's the problem. They have the leverage when there's that many of them. You can't even single out one guy.
I want to make sure here before people go crazy and think that I've lost my mind. I'm not saying that's what. I'm not sitting here saying the Colts should have done this and I'm livid that they didn't do this. I'm just saying to say that they have no options is not necessarily accurate. It's ludicrous to think that they would exercise that option, but it does exist.
I'll give my one take on that. Like the one thing that bothers me is to hear, well, we're still talking about it. No, there's nothing else to talk about.
Right.
Either get it or don't. The research is out there. Well, we don't really know what the after effects are. Well, you can't. Guess what, guys? The average lifespan is what, 75 years? You can't wait 100 years to see if this vaccine has any long-term effects. We have the data that we have. We have the research and the scientists that have put this together. 96% of doctors are vaccinated. I think they know a little bit about what they're talking about, more than your uncle on Facebook. Again, that's the last time that I want to talk about it.
What if my uncle's a doctor?
That's all I want to do.
My uncle is a doctor.
Okay, yeah. He's a podiatrist.
What's wrong with that?
Come on.
Isn't that a foot doctor?
There's nothing wrong with.
I'm pro foot.
God, can you imagine? Of all the I think I'd rather be a proctologist than a podiatrist. Just touching people's feet every day.
Yeah.
Well, you got a bunion there. Like, just,
Okay.
like it's all hard.
Colts are going to go 12-5. I think the Colts' schedule is intriguing because there are a couple of areas of it. Like if you break the schedule down into quarters, there are a couple of areas where they get a reprieve, if you will, where you say, where
the end, really. They finish pillowly soft.
Although I think at Arizona on Christmas is a little tricky.
Christmas games are tough.
A lot of it depends at that point what the opponent, where the opponent is, right, and how many players they're playing, and there's a lot that factors
and things
into
always surprise you. Like you have to take into account. And this is the beauty of the NFL. Every single year, two teams that were great the year before suck.
You're right.
And two teams that sucked the year before are great.
Correct.
And so you never know who those teams are going to
Chargers, baby. That's
you
my
just don't
pick.
know.
This is the year that the Chargers break through and go to the next level.
But I think
I've said that for 4 straight years.
those final 5 weeks, Texans are lightly thought of. We don't really know what the Patriots are going to be, but people don't expect them to be a contender. At Arizona, you're right. Raiders and Jaguars, I think, is kind of a light. And then you've got the Jets and Jaguars in the middle of the season. Like it's a little bit of a light finish, whereas the beginning is Seahawks, Rams, Titans, Dolphins, Ravens. I mean, that's really
the Dolphins are intriguing.
Yeah.
I think the Dolphins step back a little bit.
Well, it depends on what Tua's going to be, really.
Right.
Because the jury is still out, and I think most people are leaning towards he's not going to be the guy at this point.
It feels like Miami is thinking he's not going to be the guy.
That's kind of what always happens. The problem with the Dolphins is that they always get somebody that comes in that is just okay. Like Tannehill. Tannehill's become a great quarterback.
Right.
But Tannehill was just like, okay, he was all right. And that's a tough place to be.
Derek, here's the summary for me on the Colts season. I'm very optimistic about this Colts team, and the reason being is because, and I'll give Chris Ballard a lot of credit here, I think they're built in such a way that they can actually find different ways to win, and you feel comfortable with that. When you had the Peyton Manning and Edgerrin James teams here, you knew the Colts were going to be able to score a ton of points, but the question always was, were they going to be able to stop other teams from keeping the ball away from Peyton Manning? With this Colts team, it does feel like if there are games where they need to win on the ground, they have 4 backs, and you can always count on probably at least 2 of them being healthy with alternate running styles to keep defenses honest and to control the clock. If they need to score a bunch of points, if they're going against a high-flying offense, it does feel like with Carson Wentz, if he's in rhythm, that with Frank Reich, that they're going to be able to move the ball. T.Y. Hilton that you see right there, not starting out the year, but he comes in. He's no longer needed as the quote-unquote primary threat passing the ball. Zach Pascal. You've got other guys, that can, certainly Pittman, Paris Campbell if he's healthy. And then defensively, it does feel like defensively is going to keep them in games at all times. I just think that the Colts, the thing I like about this roster, Derek, is there are multiple ways they can win depending on what is necessary on that given Sunday, and that gives them a chance in virtually every game they're going to play.
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns at critical positions like left tackle, pass rush, and just overall playmaker on offense, notably pass catcher. I'm high on Michael Pittman. I think he's going to have a great year and be a great wide receiver 1, but he hasn't shown it yet, right? He hasn't gotten to that level yet. I'll pick him to go 10-7 because I think they're going to start 2-3.
Okay.
I think actually, if you told me gun to my head right now with those first 5 games, I would take 2-3. Maybe that's me being overly harsh. But in order for them to go 12-5 from there, they would have to go, I wasn't a math major at IU, but they'd have to finish 8-2. And I think, you've still got the Buccaneers. You've got some tough games there still.
I think they will surprise people and start out 2-0.
They're both at home, so that helps.
Correct.
And Seattle's weird in that they've kind of settled into this, I don't even know how to describe it. Seattle is just good enough to consistently be like a playoff level team, but just not. They can't take that next step.
I think the thing, if you look at it, Derek, if the Colts start 2-0, let's say, and if you were to map out games that are possible losses for Indianapolis, you could pick one of those first 2, right? So if they go 2-0, then you look at it and you say, okay, so of the games that they should win, they got to make sure they don't stub their toe and give one away and get right back to square one, if that makes sense. So if you start out 2-0, you got to still sweep Jacksonville. You got to beat Miami. you got to beat Houston. You do that, you're in pretty good shape, and then you let the chips fall on the 50-50 games.
Something else to consider, though. When we used to have this discussion, it was this Colts win total was based on them going 5-1 or 6-0 against the division. And they haven't done that in years, mostly because they haven't won in Jacksonville, Jake, since 2014.
If they can split with Tennessee, I'll be
2013. I'm actually more comfortable them playing in Nashville than I am in Indy. They never lose in Nashville. Yeah. And I get that like last year's team or the team 5 years ago has nothing to do with this year's team. I get all of that, but those are the trends
Unless
that you're
it's
kind of
college
used
football,
to.
apparently, because you're ready to just annoy everybody. That's a.
You just,
I'm just saying.
Oklahoma had to survive Tulane at home.
We have features to get to.
We have a lot of stuff to get to,
okay,
including something that I wanted to examine because I heard about this and I was a little bit surprised. And I think it's interesting because it coincides with another Hall of Fame weekend. Like people are used to or know that you're going to put in Chris Webber and Ben Wallace and Chris Bosh in this new basketball Hall of Fame class. There's another Hall of Fame class.
Ben Wallace is going in?
Yeah. Jake, and we could talk about this. The Basketball Hall of Fame
you're right.
standard has gone like this.
I know.
Here's a really unpopular opinion, probably. Chris Webber, to me, is not a Hall of Fame.
I would agree with that. Totally agree with
Chris Webber, actually, to me, had a nice career. Chris Webber's career, pound for pound, was disappointing.
Who's baseball's Chris Webber?
Oh. Well, let's say football because he was such a
J.D. Drew.
Yeah, he was such a great college player, and we don't really pay attention to college baseball. But I think he kind of had Alex Smith's career.
Yeah.
Is that harsh?
No, I don't disagree with that. I think Webber was a very good player.
I think Webber, if Webber was taken 15th in the draft, I think you'd look at his career differently.
But here's the difference, Derek. In Webber's defense, the Basketball Hall of Fame is not the.
You're right.
It's just the National Basketball Hall of Fame.
It takes his college career into account, which probably pushes him over the top. Right. But, there were many heralded players who came through and had great careers that were hyped up, and there were some that fell well short. And I thought, he wasn't Joe Smith.
Is Ralph Sampson
but he
in the Hall
fell
of Fame?
short. Yes. And I think Webber's career actually kind of mirrors that, where he was thought to be this
Ralph
game-changing.
Sampson went to the finals.
Yeah, you thought he was going to be this game-changing pro, and he was an all-star and made all-NBA teams and all of that, but he was never a game-changing player.
Right.
Whereas Kevin Garnett or some of those other
Although
guys
Webber,
were.
I will say, though, Derek, Webber is kind of the face of an era. I mean,
that Michigan team was so famous and so transcendent.
Whether you're
right. They weren't as good as 93 Indiana, which people like to misremember.
Okay, so we have Hall of Fame to get to and then other things, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get to all of it next.
All right.
It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Meet Kate. She has a lot to juggle. Family, work, it can lead to trying days and tired nights. But we know Kate, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know at some point her space at a premium life may change. IMCU is here to help Kate and you find your space. Now, add on or remodel with an introductory rate of 1.9% APR on a home equity line of credit. Today, it's all about Kate. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
McCulling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is
caught. There you go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, three, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh, my goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Lynn's way.
Wrestler! Whoa!
Welcome back to Query and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network. Whether you are listening to us or watching us live on Comcast or live in terms of its first airing, we appreciate it. This segment of the program brought to you by Chateau Kitchens and Home Remodeling. Derek, here's the reality. You kind of represent what your kitchen looked like at one time. I represent what your kitchen looked like after Chateau Kitchens came in, right?
Actually, I agree. It's the opposite. Old and outdated was
I don't think
formerly
so at
my
all.
kitchen.
Old and
Fresh,
outdated's right here.
new,
Hold on.
and sexy is what it is now. Oh, God, it's just so sad.
Matthew in Maine loves the hat backwards.
Like, I am depressed. Matthew in Maine is a really nice guy.
Right.
So he's going to say that because he's a kind soul. I'm trying to be honest with you because don't get me wrong, we're best friends. But I'm just very sad, like depressed when you wear the backwards hat.
Hello,
depressing
fellow
to me.
young kids.
Chateau Kitchens will be at my house this week. In fact, Steven's coming over
Really?
to give me an estimate for my project for an upstairs bathroom, but really just to kind of hang out and chill. We haven't seen each other in a while, and we're buds, so that's going to be fun. But not only that, he's going to have the project manager and a couple of other people come out. That's what they do at Chateau. They are thorough. They have people with you every step of the process. They sketch out exactly what you want. They take, obviously, your ideas and wants into account, and they use their design powers to make it perfect. That's what they did with our kitchen,
So
and I'm looking forward to them doing that with the
their
bathroom.
plans are sketchy. They are not.
No, don't say sketchy because that's a negative
Well, I
connotation.
know, but you said
they
sketched
sketch.
out. You said sketch.
Well,
You used
sketch.
the word. I didn't
it's
use
a
it.
computer program that actually maps everything out.
Right.
Can we get that in post, Jake? Because okay, he's giving me a thumbs up. That makes it sound like they're below board or anything like that.
No,
Here
they're
we go.
not.
3,
They're above
2,
board.
1. So I know that's what they're going to do with my bathroom as well.
What's that? Sketch?
No, do a great job.
Okay. But they do sketch.
No, just forget the word sketch. Just let it leave in and out of your brain. ChateauKitchens.com.
Hang on.
They have a showroom as well, East Carmel Drive up in Carmel, and at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram, so you can see before and after photos.
Fabulous
at Chateau
stuff.
Kitchens on Facebook as well.
You know, the college football weekend, Derek, and then the pro football week coming up here usually makes it easy for us because we do a number of different segments, including Love That Play and, of course, our Sage Move of the Week. We have different things we get to. It's usually very easy with the NFL, and especially the Colts alone usually can encompass some of
It was tougher this week.
Were you thinking about a couple of them?
Yeah, I was. I didn't know what we were going to start with. I didn't want to throw Jake too much for a loop here.
Well, whatever you'd like to start with.
You want to start with Love That Play?
Are you doing your little post thing again? Are we going to do this in
No,
post?
we don't need to edit anything in post. Only point out post when there's definitely something that we have to, which is usually something that Jake says that we have to splice off of there.
Okay.
Have to make sure that we end up grabbing that. But let's do Love That Play with our friends at Love Heating and Cooling. 353-2141, love-hvac.com. It's still hot. It's like 90 degrees today, but it's going to be cold here pretty soon. So if you have not had your heater serviced in a while, tuned up, give the folks at Love a call.
By the way,
353-2141.
if you want to know what kind of great folks Love Heating and Air Conditioning are, I've known them my whole life, folks. Love-hvac.com is mentioned by Derek, 317-353-2141. 4 generations deep now, family-owned business, over 100 years dedicated to Indianapolis. Great product, knowledge of product, 24-hour on-call maintenance. 3 years ago, Derek, I went down for, I don't even recall, it was for, I believe, the Humane Society. City Market. They had a number of us come down, and they brought animals, they brought dogs from the Indianapolis Animal Care and Control. And we did basically a little dog walk with them, basically to get these dogs on display for lunch patrons at City Market. I think it was a fundraiser. And the idea was that each dog that was brought down by Animal Care and Control, we would try to get them a home. Mm-hmm. And the dog that I got was a female dog named Cookie. And I remember I was like, okay, now Cookie, this is your chance to shine here. We're going to walk down this runway and we're going to get you adopted. And poor Cookie was so timid and you could just tell, just deflated and defeated. And just looked at me with these, it broke my heart. And so I was like, I've got to get Cookie adopted. I made a vow to Cookie, I'm going to get you a home. John Love of Love Heating and Air adopted Cookie and bought a dog bed and just provided a great home. Cookie was about 6.5 years old, they estimated at that time, and very clearly had gone through a rough life. Cookie passed away this past week, but John said 3 years of complete bliss with Cookie, the best dog he's ever had, as loyal as can be. And I am absolutely thrilled. It makes my heart warm to know that Cookie did have 3 years of being able to just be a dog. and have a yard to play in and everything else. That's the kind of folks you get at Love Heating and Air.
Look, it's difficult. Losing a pet is hard,
Terrible.
whether you've had them for 18 months or for
Terrible.
18 years.
Yep.
It sucks. So I get why fostering or adopting an older pet can be – people don't want to put themselves through that emotionally, you know. But take solace in knowing you gave that dog such a happy finish to their life, you know. And that's, I hope, what people can do.
So Godspeed to Cookie, and thank you to John Love for giving her that comfort in a home.
Yeah, John, who I saw at the airport.
That is correct.
Yes.
That is the right one. That
Yes.
is right, John. Yes, that is
Which
right.
I knew all along.
And you said it was Chris.
Just misspoke. Just one of those things.
They're twin brothers.
Just
okay,
misspoke.
your Love That Play is who or what?
Full disclosure, and I'm not the fan that I used to be. I still pull for Notre Dame football. Like, I have an emotional attachment to when I was a kid and my parents were from South Bend and we go to games. But when Mackenzie Milton came in on Sunday night and started throwing darts, and his story of 1,000+ days with no football, they didn't know if he could walk again. His injury was so catastrophic. Jake, that's why we love sports, right? This guy gets on the field in this huge game, 8 million people watching at home, home opener, electric crowd, and he just wows everybody. And it was hard. I could understand why the only people in that game rooting for Notre Dame, watching that game, rooting for Notre Dame were Notre Dame fans. Because how could you not pull for that story? It was such a great story. And look, it didn't finish with a win, but hopefully that's the return because – Jake, for you, this was probably, I don't know, maybe Nebraska, but even Nebraska extended into the 90s. I can't even begin to describe to people, if you're 20 years old, you might remember the Jameis team. You have no idea how unbelievable Florida State was.
Oh, yeah.
They were the brand. Like, people talk about Miami and stuff like that. In the 90s, it was Florida State, for sure. They were like 11-1 every year.
Who was the wide receiver that Cincinnati took?
Peter Warwick?
Yeah, I mean, Peter Warwick was unbelievable. Like,
yeah,
I mean, they had,
and he ended up having a disastrous NFL career.
He did.
Didn't he and Lavernius Coles, I think, who also played in the NFL for the Jets, stole some shoes or something, or got free shoes from a
Shoes
booster.
University.
So then it became free shoes. Look, I'm not saying that everything they did was above board, but Florida State, from 87 to 2000, I think they were a national contender every year.
What Indianapolis sports media member is a Florida State grad?
Taylor Tannenbaum.
Correct.
Yeah.
Also dog rescuer, by the way.
And she's not quiet about it. She has it in her.
About the dog rescuer?
No.
Well, have you seen Mitch? She's a fabulous
She has it
dog.
all the time on Twitter. Every FSU game,
she has
she's
Mitch on there,
living
too.
and dying on there.
Mitch is a great dog.
I know.
Have you met Mitch?
You're the one that kind of pushed for that, didn't you?
Not really. I just,
Okay.
because
you guys are friends, aren't you?
yeah.
Because I mean, I know her. I mean, I guess we're friends, but I don't know her that well.
Yeah, no, she's super cool. No, she had to go out of town once on a and didn't want to put Mitch up for boarding because he had just been rescued. So Charlie Clifford actually and myself and Olivia Ray took turns going and walking Mitch and letting him out of the house.
I always thought it was kind of cool that, and I've only ever experienced this market, so I don't know. The TV people are all like best friends.
Yeah, it's a
Like, I'm sure there are egos involved, and sometimes
Well, I think they
behind each
all-
other's backs you say jokes, but honestly, they all genuinely seem to care about
collectively.
each
I think they all dislike me.
other. Yeah.
So they all have that bond.
Was it that
right?
way when you were at 6?
Yes.
Okay.
In Indianapolis, the local media definitely all looked out for each other. In St. Louis, it was not the case.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is the worst.
Oh, God. Seattle, they were taking pot shots at each other stuff, and I was like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't. I mean,
There's only really one person that does that here, and I don't really hear much about him anymore, so.
that take shots at other people?
Yeah.
I'll try to figure out who that is.
So that's my love that play, if you want to second that.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. That's actually what I would have gone with because it was quite the storyline. I turned on the Notre Dame-Florida State game a little bit late, and when I turned it on, most of that magic had already happened, and they just would not stop talking about it. Understandably so, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it was-
Tessitore, I thought, was a little over the top with it, but
was.
man, it was a great finish, and it looked for sure like Florida State was going to seal the deal and win that game.
Ooh, I don't know.
You don't think so? Yeah.
Well, once it
you
went
sent the tweet that look, Notre Dame's going to eke it out because you always think that they're going to eke it out, and I guess they did.
I mean, I said this is going to be another of those years where you turn on games and you think Florida State or that Notre Dame's going to lose, and then they eke out wins, and before you know it, you blink and they're 11-0.
Well, when Mayer dropped the pass to set up the final field goal in regulation, I was like, okay, they're definitely losing now.
You know one thing about Florida State that I will say? Between my buddy Tony, who's a diehard Clemson fan, lives in South Carolina and goes to all Clemson games home and away, Matt Greco, our buddy that went to Notre Dame,
Yep.
both of them have gone to games at Florida State as a Clemson and Notre Dame fan, respectively. Both of them have told me the Clemson fan or the Florida State fans are fabulous.
I think they just want to party, right?
Just very accommodating and hospitable. Hey, come on in. Let's watch a great game together. Have a safe trip home. Just great.
Instead of getting nasty, I've always felt like Florida State fans just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, we're painting in broad brushes. There are bad apples in every bunch.
Right.
But that doesn't seem to be a fan base I've ever heard negative things about.
Is it only because we have cell phones now and the ability to videotape and distribute stuff everywhere, or is it constant now where every week there's fans fighting in the stands?
I think that's part of it. But, because of Sons and Four Guy and guilty, I thought Sons and Four Guy was great and whatever. He got attacked. That's a little bit different.
For those that don't know, you're talking about
Sons and Four Guy. There was a guy that was a Suns fan in Denver in the Western Conference, whatever it was, semifinals, if I don't even remember what round it was. And he has two guys in Nuggets jerseys that are talking crap to him. And then one of the guys kind of makes a move like this and tries to sucker punch him. And so the Suns fan basically put him in a headlock, punched him a bunch of times in the eye, and then he looks up at his buddy and goes, Suns and Four, like that, and that went viral. And the two guys just ran up the stairs. One of them was all bloody. Sorry, I don't even want to laugh.
It was pretty good.
And stuff like that, people just want to be famous. So there was the North Carolina older guy, he looked like he was your age, going into the student section.
He was like 65.
He looked like he was, you just turned 50 whatever.
49.
Okay, whatever it was. And he charged up into the stands. Trash talking is going to happen. I've been a visiting fan at a lot of places, Jake, and they've been nasty. Cleveland was one that was horrible. It was like a day Yankees game, and these kids would not leave me alone. We finally moved seats. They were throwing stuff. It was horrible. And I had just graduated college at that point, and they were like high school kids, but they berated me and used homophobic slurs. And it was nasty. And I'm glad that I didn't have a girlfriend or anything like that with me.
Why didn't you turn around and fight?
I wasn't interested in doing that. It's kind of like what I learned in karate, where you only end up going after somebody if you're defending yourself. Karate. So you try not to be aggressive.
You took karate?
Karate, yes.
When did you take karate?
I was between the ages of 6 and 10.
Were you any good?
Yes, very good.
What color belt did you get up to?
I got several levels up there. I'm not going to say because I don't want you to turn it. You're going to look it up online and then you're going to tweet about, well, Schultz only had blank belt, so he says he was that good in karate. But I was very good.
Did you break any boards?
No, we didn't get up to that level.
That's the first thing you do.
Well, see, you're focused on the physical aspect of it. It's far more mental. Our sensei always told us that you have to just kind of envision the board breaking and not even worried about if you break the board, because if you break it up here and you break it up here, then it will break.
Okay.
So that was kind of the life lesson that I learned in karate.
Okay. And then why did you quit?
I started taking piano lessons at 10. My mom wanted me to take piano lessons.
Yeah, that's natural. Yeah, like when you just sit down at the board and you start envisioning Tchaikovsky, and then it just happens, right? Isn't that what the sensei taught you?
What did you do as a kid? Because I don't remember making fun of paper route. Wow, how update
I was first team all Taylor basketball camp.
Stuff.
I was just overall cool.
And see, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like what the sensei said is that people will provoke you and all of that, but unless it actually comes to physical blows, you should not use karate in that way.
Okay.
So, but trust me, you don't want any of this smoke.
Okay.
You don't want any of it.
I know both karate and judo.
Okay, so now you're mocking because I can tell by your tone.
Along with 17 other Japanese words.
Okay. I know that you're mocking me, so we're gonna just move on to the next thing.
What are we chopping
Sage
to next?
move of the week next week, sticks and stones. I'm not gonna let it bother me. It's all up here.
Right. Are we doing quick hits today?
Just find that chi. Yes, quick hits today as well.
Is that how you're going to do them? Hey!
See, I didn't even blink.
Okay.
I didn't even blink because it's going so slow. I mean, for people at home, you might think that's fast, but me mentally, like I process that much differently than most people.
Okay.
Because of my training in karate.
Right. Okay.
So we'll come back to features and more next.
Are you good at blocks?
Corey and Schultz. IU Sports Network.
He who mastered the wax on, wax off, right?
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Meet Kate. She has a lot to juggle. Family, work, it can lead to trying days and tired nights. But we know Kate, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know at some point her space at a premium life may change. IMCU is here to help Kate and you find your space. Now, add on or remodel with an introductory rate of 1.9% APR on a home equity line of credit. Today, it's all about Kate. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
WGU Indiana, which is wgu.edu/Indiana, is your place for Indiana's largest online accredited university. That is correct. Whether or not you want to maybe just go ahead and start for the first time trying to get that college degree, or it might be that you have some credits left out there and then work got in the way and life got in the way and you think, I'd really like to finish that degree that I started but never actually completed. Maybe you want to do a career change and you think to yourself, I've been successful in the marketing world for a while, but I'd really like to try my hand at accounting or something like that. That's where WGU comes into play, because when life gets in the way, don't worry about it. At WGU, you make the schedule. You do it on your own time because ambition never rests, and WGU has a full slate of programs for you. WGU.edu/Indiana is your place for WGU, which also brings us our Sage Move of the Week, because Sage is, of course, the mascot of WGU. That's because owls, as you know, Derek, always have their head on a swivel. Yep. Owls also nocturnal, so they can work throughout the night. The ambition never rests with Sage.
It does work in a lot of ways, the mascot. I understand why they chose that.
Yep.
It wouldn't have been my choice, but I understand why they ended up choosing the
Each of us are going to do a different one here. I'll begin with my Sage Move of the Week. I thought it was a sage move, a savvy move by Chris Ballard and the Colts in bringing Eric Fisher, who is, of course, designed to be the left tackle that's going to protect Carson Wentz's blind side this year. And he started out the year, he's coming off of injury, and they put him on the COVID-19 list. Now, as the season is upon us, he missed all of camp, but the Colts had the option. One of them was to put him on IR to start out the year. That means that he is guaranteed to miss at least 3 games. Colts opted not to do that and went ahead and activated him, even though I think, Derek, he is not going to be ready in week number 1. But this means that if for some reason he accelerates a timeline and is ready in week 2 or 3, they have him there and he is available, as opposed to guaranteed putting him on the shelf for the first 5th of the season. I think it's a pretty sage move by the Colts to just have him there and have him ready, because they're going to need him on the left side.
Yeah, and it's one of those injuries that we've made a lot of progress on, but it's not that long ago. In fact, earlier this century, in the 21st century, if you blew an Achilles, your career was over.
Correct.
So it's still a very, very serious injury. So to think that happened, I think, in the AFC Championship game. So, we're not talking that long ago.
Yeah,
we're
I
talking
remember. I mean, it was like 9 months and they thought out. Yeah.
So it's an unbelievable. I mean, it's amazing what doctors and all of that can do through research and all of that. They don't just go to the local feed store and just take something for horses and ingest it. You know what I mean? What we can actually do with real medical research and science in today's society.
Okay.
My Sage move of the week. This is a guy that has flown under the radar, and a move that flew under the radar because he's a bit player. But just the fact that he's gotten to be a bit player in the NBA is a great story. Alize Johnson, who was a former second-round pick of the Pacers, who I think people liked here. He was kind of a bench energy guy and came in and played sporadically. Signed a 2-year deal, $3.8 million with the Bulls. And he was great in Brooklyn as kind of a fill-in for them. They had no more room at the end.
Right?
Yeah, the Nets just had too many bodies, so they had to let him loose. And then he gets back to the Midwest. He's a Missouri State grad. So congratulations to Alize. Happy to see him find a landing spot.
Yeah, I mean, you've got like any time that a guy comes in there. And credit the Pacers as well, Derek, for having him there. And I mean, granted, it worked out for someone else, really. But, you know, this is why they have the G League, right? And the two-way contracts and going back and forth to Fort Wayne and back and waiting and then bringing a guy in and just having him in your rotation. That's why that exists. And you know, it worked out for him.
Yeah, they've had some luck, too, with second-round picks where guys have gone on to have, like, George Yang has had a nice career, and he was a second-round pick of the Pacers as well, where they've just kind of stuck around.
The guy that I really wanted to see have that happen for him, the Pacers gave him a pretty fair shot, but Orlando Johnson was a really likable guy. And I would have liked to see him
tragic story. I mean, his mom was murdered, and he was raised by his sisters, and his grandma's house burned down, and she died. You know, he had all these tragedies happen. This was almost 10 years ago now that he would have been drafted, right? 2011, 2012. But a nice California dude, if I remember.
Yeah, UC Santa Barbara, maybe
something like that. And I checked a couple of years ago. He was playing overseas, and I think he's continued to do that. And
probably made
that
good
could be
money.
a pretty nice life.
No question.
If you can extend that out.
If you could play overseas, where would you go? If we could take the show overseas, where would you want to go?
I think most people agree that their favorite place to go is Italy, isn't it? It's the highest level of basketball, and it's gorgeous.
Right.
I've also heard that Greece is a good place to play.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'd like to live in Belgium.
Wasn't AJ Moye was in like Iceland or something, wasn't he?
Maybe.
Which I hear is beautiful because it's actually green and Greenland is ice.
That's correct.
As people know.
That's correct. Iceland's done a nice job. Somebody in the United States needs to hire whoever Iceland's promotions person was, their marketing person.
Yeah.
Because now Iceland's like everybody's going to Iceland for vacations. I think Belgium would be cool. I've always thought Spain would be cool to go to.
Yeah.
And then Italy.
I mean, Europe, there's just like, and I get that there are lame areas of Europe. Like there are, there are areas that probably look like Avon in Europe, but
the Rockville Road, like you get to Barcelona and you're driving on the Rockville Road.
Maybe not like Rockville Road, but like
there's Cheddars. Okay.
I should pick something more.
They
rural.
got a Don Pablo's. Okay.
There are wide open spaces in Europe where there's nothing going on. It's just farmland and whatever else. But we kind of have, I think, this idyllic version of what Europe is. So whenever I think of like Belgium or Germany, I think, oh wow, it'd be castles and stone roads and historic buildings. And I get there's a lot of that, but we're only talking about the most touristy areas in all of those places.
Touristy. It's touristy, isn't it?
Oh, I always say tourist. Do you say tourist?
Well, if you were to go somewhere, do you like Gilligan's Island? Did they take a 3-hour tour?
No, a tour.
Okay. So then just add ist to the end of that.
Tourist.
No, it's tourist.
I think it's just a choice. It's like scenario or scenario. I'm a scenario guy, but a lot of people say scenario.
In what scenario would you say tourist?
I just did.
Well, you sound ridiculous.
Yeah. Like I love Tribe Called Quest. Here we go now. So what's a scenario? Like, but I say scenario.
Okay.
Hey, yo, Bo knows
is Tribe Called Quest the one that Evan Altman likes, or that's
Jack.
Wu-Tang, right?
Yeah, because Bo can't rap, but what do you know?
Okay. Speaking of Bo, we'll put a bow tie on it and get to our final segments, including.
Well, let's quickly get to IMCU as well. Let's get that one in. Colts didn't play.
Indiana Members Credit Union,
because they had a week off, so we usually attach that with Player of the Week for the Colts and our friends at Indiana Members Credit Union. A full-service financial institution offering free checking accounts with e-statements, low auto rates, and more. See what IMCU can do for you at IMCU.com.
Indiana Members Credit Union.
Membership savings required.
An honorary. How about Jack Plummer?
Yeah, that's not a bad one. I mean, I was going to pick a Colt again, but Jack Plummer, I think, had a really nice
But you said
debut.
the Colts didn't play.
Well, I was just going to pick somebody who I really like DeForest Buckner. Stephen Holder's got a great article about him in The Athletic today. If you're a subscriber, you can read that. I love his leadership. I love the fact that he's been exactly what he's been as advertised. He was
been good.
A monster last year, and I hope that he can build on that in year number 2 and have another all-pro year. So I get that the Colts haven't played, but we haven't picked him yet for that. Maybe we'll pick him for the IMCU Player of the Week in the future here, but that's where I am with it.
Let me ask you this on this photo here. You see these?
Yeah.
Are these just like little snap things, or is he sponsored by Oakley? Is that the Oakley?
No, Oakley builds those shades.
The visor? Okay.
Yeah, the visors or whatever they are, and they're officially licensed by the NFL.
So I'm not sure who this is behind him, but he doesn't have the Oakley.
I don't know either.
Buckner has the Oakley. This guy no Oakley, right?
Oh, I didn't notice that, but it looks like they both have visors on.
I know. Well, this is clearly a tinted visor. The other one is not.
Okay, maybe Oakley just I don't know. The NFL has rules on all that stuff of what they can wear, what they can't
apparently, we get to go to the Oakley store again for IndyCar when I go out there for the West Coast trips.
Nice.
You want anything?
No, I have prescription sunglasses.
Okay.
Why is that funny?
I've never seen you wear your prescription sunglasses.
I wore them on the way to Ball State last week.
Okay. I was asleep.
Look, they're not rec specs, Jake. They're sunglasses. They just happen to be
Okay.
prescription sunglasses, so I can see.
Are they the kind that get dark?
No.
Like you walk in, like they're normal, and then you go out in the light and they get dark?
That's stupid.
Okay.
They're good.
Is it for the lazy eye?
I had a lazy eye when I was like 8.
Is that back
That's
when
over now.
Okay, so and kids didn't make fun of your lazy eye because of your cara thing. Okay. Is that what you did to people when they make fun of it? You just had this zone out?
I'm actually glad, and I've emailed my sensei, who's still living, about my relationship with you. And without that training as a youth, I don't think we would be able to have a show.
Okay.
Because I have to internalize a lot of this.
Where does your sensei
there are
live
so
now?
many verbal attacks that I have to deal with, and I have to fend off the verbal attacks. But unless things get physical, I'm good.
Where's the sensei live that you're emailing?
I'm not even going to tell you. I've shared too much. You knew about my lazy eye when I was 8. I've shared too much of my life with you.
Okay.
Not interested in
All
doing
right.
that. Yeah, we'll come back, wrap up the show next. Quick hits, Jake's Hall of Fame case, and Bite or Bull Bleep
Okay.
when we return.
All right.
It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Shot at the buzzer. Got it! She got it! Oh my goodness, what a shot!
Brady, hello! Did it again. Hello! Made the highlight reel again. That goes to Mentor and all kind of room to run. Down the middle of the field, and he will not be touched. Jackson, hello! There we go.
Stokes throws it, caught, ball ricochets.
Wow.
A huge hit.
Wow!
This has been an amazing display of goal scoring.
Welcome back, final time. Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Time for our quick hits, which has exploded in popularity. People are like, oh man, need my quick hits fix.
Okay.
I mean, they love the longer form show. They wish this show was 4 hours like it used to be instead of an hour, 20 minutes or an hour and a half, whatever it is. A couple of quick hits. You had kind of mentioned this and stolen my thunder. Colts very optimistic about Eric Fisher getting added to the active roster, which shows that they clearly think within 3 weeks he's going to be ready to go because of the IR rules. So wanted to get that out there.
Need to get him in there as soon as possible, Derek, because offensive line play is often just simply a matter of continuity.
Yeah.
And getting familiar with the guys around
And
you.
apparently that dude that they added from the Eagles last week is just a body. I mean, it's just Ballard clearly values experience. The problem is that all of the experience that the Colts backup tackles have is experience being really bad. So it's great to have a bunch of starts, but if you have a bunch of starts and you're bad in all of them,
right?
Who cares? Tyrod Taylor, remember that name?
Yeah.
Officially the Texans starter in Week 1 against Jacksonville.
The Texans apparently and reportedly are willing, Derek, to have Deshaun Watson on the roster and pay him every single dollar that he's owed until there is a resolution to the allegations against him.
Rocking a hard place a little bit because if there is any trade value there at all, you'd still rather get 20 cents on the dollar than 0 cents, right? So I think they're going to hold out and just kind of hope that this goes their way, and it sure doesn't look like. I mean, things could change. Sure doesn't look like it's going to go their way. Taylor, this will be the 4th team that he's started for. Bills.
Let me guess.
They beat the Colts.
Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
Bills is the big one that comes to mind.
Bills is the easy one because he spent, I think, the most time there.
Chargers?
Last year, yeah.
Okay.
There's one in between there that I don't think people are going to remember.
Ravens?
He played for the Ravens, did not start for them.
Okay.
Never started a game for the Ravens.
Okay.
I don't even remember the circumstances around this, but he started like 2 games somewhere.
Eagles?
No.
Okay.
Browns. I don't know if Mayfield got hurt. I don't remember. In 2019, apparently he started a couple of games for the Browns. I don't remember that at all. After LSU head coach Ed Orgeron yelled to a fan, "Bring your sissy blue shirt," UCLA has decided to market that. They are making their own sissy blue shirts.
I saw that.
After their 38-27 win over LSU.
How about UCLA, man? I'm telling you what, Chip Kelly, that's why he was hired there. They're scoring a lot of points.
It's very odd to me that LSU in 2019, that is one of the that might be one of the 10 greatest teams ever. Like, if you actually just look at who they beat that year, they were unbelievable, and they immediately went in the tank. I mean, I think we're going to look back at that LSU team as an all-time one-off.
You're right.
Because Orgeron's career mostly has been this, where they've kind of underachieved and been like a 5. I know he was with like Ole Miss, but when he was at USC, it was the same thing. USC's been underachieving for 15 years now.
Right.
But I just kind of wonder with LSU, we thought was going to get to this level now, and now they're just not. They're not there. I mean, can you imagine saying 2 years later, not even,
I know,
20 months later, hey, guess what? LSU's going to lose their opener to UCLA?
But, I mean, UCLA is competent, Derek. It's not like UCLA's been a nice program, and now they've got probably an elite coach in Chip Kelly. I think this was kind of his last hurrah to show that he could be an elite coach. But offensively speaking, they're pretty darn good.
But it'd be like if Georgia won it all, and then 20 months later they totally lost an opener at Iowa.
Yeah,
and it's
you're right.
I mean, Iowa's okay, but really?
UCLA is one of those that, I asked this question yesterday to somebody. Arch Manning, who is Peyton Manning's nephew, Cooper Manning's son, and he is the number one, he's going to be the biggest recruit of ever, right?
Sophomore?
He is a sophomore or junior. He might, maybe he is a sophomore.
Yeah.
So I was saying, if Arch Manning said to himself, I'm going to be the most highly touted high school quarterback probably of all time, and I want to go to a college football program with simply 2 qualifications. I want to win my school their first ever national championship, so I want to go to a place that's never won a title, and I want to go somewhere that just does not have the Manning footprint attached to it, which is tough to do, admittedly, with Peyton Manning and Eli Manning and whatever else. What are your 4 schools if you're Arch Manning at that point?
So they've never won it.
Yep.
That takes a lot of people out of the equation because most of the major programs have won at some point. Let me look. I got to look at a list of best college programs to never win the title.
Because I'll tell you the 4 that I came up with. You ready?
Yeah.
My final 4 or 5 is Arch Manning, and I wanted to go somewhere and deliver that school their first major national championship and just kind of get away from having to play in the Peyton-Eli shadow, which is, kind of tough to do. But my first choice is UCLA. Go and play for Chip Kelly and play in the Rose Bowl and 72 degrees and sunny every day and La La Land and Westwood.
There are a couple of good options here.
Second choice for me would be the school that has more quarterbacks starting in the Super Bowl than any program in college football history is?
I don't know. Purdue?
No. We'll come back to that one.
Okay.
So Oregon would be one of my 4 choices.
Yeah, Oregon's never won it. That was a good one.
Okay?
Yeah.
So Oregon's one of my 4 choices. My 4th choice, number 4, I want to go somewhere where there's going to be like just a vibrant scene and I'm going to be basically living like a playboy. I'm going to Arizona State.
Yeah, all right.
So actually all 4 of my schools, same conference, Pac-12, because I'm getting out there away from the Manning footprint. The school with more quarterbacks to start the Super Bowl than any other is University of California, Berkeley. And that's probably where I'd go, Berkeley.
They've never won it?
Nope.
Okay. I might pick Wisconsin.
It's way up there. The weather would kill me.
It's a great party school. I feel like you'd really be BMOC. And that's the one thing that they've been missing. Wisconsin's had a ton of great players, but outside of the 1 year with Russell Wilson as a grad transfer, you really haven't had elite quarterback play
Jim
there.
Sorgi?
Yeah, see, like they've basically had Jim Sorgi just recycle himself over Brooks Bollinger and guys like that at quarterback. What were we talking about? We doing quick hits? Oh, we were doing quick hits with Orgeron, and then we got off track a little bit.
And you said something about my Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Jake is he's been campaigning for this for a long time, and they decided to put him in the North Central Hall of Fame. I think and don't get me wrong, it's a great honor. I think it's kind of similar to Harold Baines getting in the Baseball Hall of Fame, where Harold Baines knew LaRussa, and LaRussa kind of pushed for him.
Right.
Jake has a lot of high-end relationships at North Central and, pushed for this. Like, I don't mean just, like, pushed, like envelopes and cash on tables. And
That photo right there looks like...
Is that your yearbook photo?
Yeah, but it's a little... Oh, okay, now it's zoomed. Like, looking at it this close up, that is my senior year yearbook photo. That is correct. That hair is nice, isn't it?
You make fun of me, and...
It's pretty bad.
That's what you come with?
Well, it's 30 years ago.
Well, mine was 20. See, that looks good. Like, kind of a aged wine.
Yeah, look how fat my face is. It drives me nuts.
What are you talking about?
I will say this, Derek. Yes, I did joke a lot. That's good.
Oh, gross.
Good. I did joke a lot about getting into the North Central Hall of Fame. There have been 100. I will be the 110th of 114 inductees.
Wow. And they graduate 10,000 kids every year.
Yeah, and I mean there are some people that are. I certainly understand that my career does not merit being in. I no qualm about that for me. One thing that I'm proud of is they did tell me when they called to tell me that I had been selected. I said, "Listen, I realize that I used to joke about this on the radio, and thank you for the charity." And they said, actually, your radio career was very secondary to the fact that you were inducted because of your civic contributions being what North Central was happy to have had instilled in you. And I was very satisfied with that. I mean, I thought that made me feel good. I was a little surprised Lars Tate is not in. Tony Barbie is not in.
Well, it's not all athletics, right?
Yeah, but I mean, those are two pretty big names outside of it. And
is Adam in?
Adam is not in. I would think
Adam should be next then.
Adam would be Adam Alexander, who was my broadcast partner at North Central. Certainly his career more than merits it, more than the one challenge Adam has is that he did most of his accomplishments outside of Indianapolis.
Yeah,
so
I could see why that would
radar.
be weighted towards you.
You know what I mean?
Because everything you've accomplished outside of a brief stint in St. Louis was basically here.
In Washington Township, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would say I'm Harold Baines, because Harold Baines, like, if I'd have gotten in at the age of 70, that's Harold Baines, because longevity got him in. I would think I am. Somebody said to me, Craig Biggio.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Well, I was just trying to think of who is the worst player in the Hall of Fame, so I thought of Harold Baines right away.
Thanks.
That's why that
Harold Baines, you are right. I looked it up yesterday.
It's a joke. It's absolutely ridiculous.
He played for 22 years.
Is in the Hall of Fame.
And he doesn't have 3,000 hits. He doesn't have 500 home runs. He doesn't. You know what I mean?
The cutoff has to be somewhere, and we should just be able to acknowledge that somebody had a great career without making them into something that they're not. Like it is. It's actually, and Harold Baines seems like a really nice dude and all of that. It's actually insulting that Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame.
If you were Harold Baines, would you be embarrassed knowing that you're going in? Because I was a little embarrassed.
What are you going to say?
I will admit, Derek, I was extremely honored that North Central, even if it was for charity, felt that I was worthy of going in, or that they could get away with putting me in there. I was very honored by it, and it means it does mean a huge amount to me. So thank you to North Central that I've always been proud of in Washington Township. But I feel like Harold Baines.
I hear you. And it's great to be humble like that, and I know we joke about it on the show, but really I think you are. But that said, we're a really big deal. So any accolades and things like that kind of come our way, like I'm kind of expecting them.
Who's the biggest person in the Trumbull High School Hall of Fame?
Ooh, because there are the most famous people from Trumbull did not go. Like Chris Drury went to Fairfield Prep, so he went to private school. He did not go to Trumbull High School. That's actually a really good question.
Does your high school have a Hall of Fame?
I think Lisa Lampanelli. I think we did. Lisa Lampanelli, the comedian. I think.
Okay.
Actually, I think she graduated St. Joe's, so I think she went private too. Let me see. Notable people from Trumbull. The guy that created P90X.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Harold Jensen.
Yeah, the
hero
Villanova
of
star.
Villanova.
85.
Craig Breslow. He was a reliever for a long time. Red Sox.
Okay.
A's, a couple other places. I mean, we didn't really have anything much athletically. So, no, I mean, Tony Horton would probably be the most nationally known Trumbull High School graduate.
So North Central's Hall of Fame. Mitch Daniels.
Yep.
Babyface.
Jane Pauley.
No, she's Warren Central.
Why did I think she was North Central?
I don't know.
Oh, weird. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend any Warrenites.
Mark Summers.
Yeah.
Bart Peterson. Jeff Smolian.
Any governors from North Central? Like anybody that went
Mitch Daniels.
Oh, okay. I just meant anybody else.
Let's see. Mitch Daniels, Bart Peterson.
You've got a mayor and a governor.
Mark Miles essentially is basically a governor. Steve Campbell, who is now with the Colts but was the deputy mayor for a long time. Scott Jones, the guy that invented voicemail.
Who's the guy that's in Biden's cabinet?
Ron Klain. Ronald Klain, also
in.
Ronald Klain.
Okay.
And then me. Right.
Oh, so these are the people that are getting in this class?
They were
already in. Okay, gotcha.
They were already all in.
Because I was going to say, I wouldn't want to go in with that class.
I looked this up because they sent me the list. There were 10 people. There are 10 people in whose career overlapped mine that I would have been a student at North Central at the same time as they. I'm very honored that I'm the second member of my class to go in. The first was Shannon Lamb, who was an international Special Olympian. So I think it's cool to join her.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
You're also drawing from a lot more kids than Trumbull was a decent. I mean, I graduated with 500 kids, so it was a decent sized school for Connecticut. That was the highest level.
I think there's 62,000 alumni.
Yeah,
something like that.
Trumbull, there's no way comes close to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they give me a ring, I'll let you wear
it. My fingers usually don't fit. I need to get those specially fit.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're a little bit smaller.
Okay.
Well, they are.
Okay.
My fist strikes a little bit harder if you want to test that out.
If I
my fingers are
so if they give me a ring, I'll give it to you as a hula hoop.
Okay, now you're choosing to be insulting. We're trying to honor you and this dork right here for getting into the North Central Hall of Fame.
Buy it or bull, Schultz. You ready?
Do it. All right. Brought to you by our friends at the Shop Indy, theshopindy.com, or you can order online. Clay Terrace up in Carmel, also the Strip in Broad Ripple.
918 Broad Ripple.
Brian, Alex, and Jordan, and the rest of the crew over there will take care of you.
Name, image, likeness athletes from Purdue, Ball State, Butler, Indiana.
Everything.
They've got it all.
You already spoiled this one because I know what your answer is.
Okay.
Buy it or bull bleep. Statement 1, the Colts will win their opener this Sunday for the first time since 2013.
I'm going to do a double buy.
Yeah.
Colts going to start at 2-0.
Isn't that wild that they have not won an opener? Do you know who they beat? Do you remember this?
Their last season opening win?
Their last season opening win.
What year was it?
2013. And they also lost their season opener in 12, 11, and 10, I think.
2013 season opener. Let me just simply ask you this. If I got transferred to this city, would I be happy?
I think you've spoken well of this city.
Would I need
how about this? You've been there and I haven't.
Seattle.
No, it's not Seattle.
Would I need a winter coat?
No, definitely not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe in like December at night you might, because I don't know how it gets really out there. But I know in the summer it's ungodly hot.
Arizona.
You're getting warmer. This team has moved since they won the game lost to the Colts in the 2013 opener.
Oh, San Diego?
No. Same division.
Oh, okay. Oakland?
Yeah. Well, Vegas now.
Yeah. Okay.
Does it get cold at night?
In Vegas or in Oakland?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Chilly. Both of them chilly.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Oakland's the Bay, so that actually does get
It
San
does.
Francisco, and that gets chilly. But I didn't know if Vegas. I've never been to Vegas.
I would bet Vegas in the dead of winter, in the wintertime at night gets, I don't know,
50s?
40s,
Yeah.
50s. Yeah.
Because it's 110 in the summer, I
Yeah.
know. So it's bad. No, I think they lose to Seattle to open up the season.
Okay.
Keep that streak alive.
All right.
So I'm going to say bull bleep. Statement 2, the Pac-12 won't have a team in the playoff. Buy it or bull bleep?
I buy that just because, as we were laying out, I mean, I think Ohio State, Alabama, and I do think Oklahoma, if they went out, have a clear path. And then I think Georgia, Notre Dame, and then Clemson's lurking.
And who does the Pac-12 have?
UCLA.
Like we keep trying to make Washington a thing.
UCLA or Oregon.
You know, Washington lost to Montana.
Yeah, UCLA or Oregon.
Oregon too. Oregon, we try to make.
I don't disagree.
Oregon
I'm
never,
just telling you.
Never wins any. USC is there too. Apparently, you know, we've been waiting. USC is kind of like Miami. Every single year they're in the top 15, and you think, okay, this is the year they're going to be good again, and then they ever. I don't want to judge Miami on the Alabama loss because you're like volunteering as tribute. You say that it's Hunger Games. That's exactly what it is. Like you've got to be. There has to be something wrong with you to voluntarily agree to play an opener against Alabama in the non-conference.
Right.
Like I just don't.
Right.
What is in it for Miami? Right? You already have national exposure and a national brand. Why do you need to go sacrifice?
And that's the
yourself
thing. I mean, Derek,
to Bama?
Alabama.
I don't get it.
Alabama clearly controlled that game, and Miami's a top 15 team.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's just you don't even. They're not even threatened. Like it's not
I know.
even. They're the most dominant force that there's ever been in the sport. I mean,
You're right.
It's just in a sport that has had a ton of dominant forces. No, I don't think they're going to have one in. I think that the Pac-12, it just kind of has a long way to go as a league in general when it comes to football. You know, we talk about Florida State needing to be back. If the Pac-12 is going to matter again, USC needs to be USC. Like, there's no reason why USC shouldn't be a top 10 team every year. There's just none. Statement 3, Labor Day is the most irrelevant of the long weekend holidays. Buy it or bull bleep?
I mean, it's hard to argue.
Did you see my poll yesterday where I said, hey, I see ads all the time, Labor Day cookouts. And I'm thinking to myself, do people actually have those?
I think they do.
And because I've never been to one. And I wrote, lazy day, or do you do something on Labor Day? And 85% said lazy day. But then again, Labor Day weekend also includes Saturday and Sunday.
Labor Day, I think to a lot of people, Derek, myself included, it's rooted back to me of childhood where it was like, oh, man, it means school's about to start.
Yeah.
It meant the end of summer. So it was like almost a depressing holiday. I did see, I don't want to say any names because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus here, but there was an IndyCar driver that posted a photo of himself saluting the flag and said, this one means more this year because of our fallen soldiers. Happy Labor Day. And I'm like,
Labor Day doesn't really have anything to do with that.
The sentiment towards soldiers, totally understand, and there's not necessarily a bad time for that sentiment, but I'm like, that really doesn't have anything to do with Labor Day.
Labor Day to me now, because it used to be for me as a kid.
What are the 3-day weekend holidays? Memorial Day.
Even MLK Day is great because it's first off, it's nice to reflect on his life and Dr. King's legacy, but also it comes at a great time because after the holidays, it feels like everything is hitting you really fast and you need a break.
Yeah,
and it's a nice kind of break to have. Columbus Day doesn't even count anymore because I don't think most people get it off.
Right.
4th of July every once in a while ends up being either the Friday or a Monday where it's a long holiday weekend, or if it's over the weekend, a lot of people take the Friday or Monday. So I've always kind of looked at 4th of July as a holiday weekend type holiday.
Right.
Unless it lands on a Wednesday.
Arbor Day?
Yeah, no, it's sadly, I've campaigned for it. It's not a national holiday.
Flag Day?
Should be. June 14th, right?
Yeah.
Flag Day. No, that's when I graduated high school 20 years ago.
On June 14th?
Yeah.
I guess you're right. Ours was like the 6th.
Yeah, in Connecticut we went later too. We didn't start the high school. We started in August, but like you, and as a kid, Labor Day was a signal of the end of summer. But now Labor Day is just like the end of August and September is just there's 800 million things going on. Like I don't have time to go on a boat and just like hang out. I did that.
Right.
We did that during the summer. Like summer's over.
I know.
For me, at least. And I think a lot of people feel that. Now that kids go back August 1st, I think most people feel like
I know.
Summer's long over by the time Labor Day comes.
So when's our next 3-day weekend? Thanksgiving?
Yeah, that's a 4-day, but yeah,
Right.
probably.
Well, it's 3-day for you because you spend one of those days shopping.
Yeah, I can't wait. Well, yeah, and sweater vests, and I had a pumpkin spice latte over the weekend. We put up our autumn, our autumnal decorations.
Autumnal.
Yes.
Okay.
Really nice.
right.
The house looks great.
Okay.
Mondays, starting next week, Query and Schultz is moving. 7:30 p.m. Mondays.
Okay.
Streaming live right here, ISC Sports Network, iscsportsnetwork.com, and on socials, so Twitter, Facebook. And we're also going to start going to YouTube Live. It used to be that we would post, like this show will be posted on Wednesday at 12 a.m., so after it airs. But now we're just like, screw it. Let's throw it on YouTube Live as well. So you'll be able to watch it live and then the archive version on our YouTube channel, Corey and Schultz. And then Comcast is also going to take it 7:30 on Monday. So no more waiting until Wednesday for our TV viewers to see the show. I just thought
Are we just doing it live, or are we just coming in Mondays?
No,
at
we're
7:30
still
doing
coming
live?
in Mondays just like we always do.
I think we should just do it
at
live.
7:30. That doesn't really work for me schedule-wise to come in here Monday at 7:30 in the evening. Well, I have a human
two-person
child,
show.
so my schedule's a little bit different from yours.
I've got a dog that needs ACL surgery.
Shannon's dog needs ACL surgery.
Fair enough.
Lives with Shannon.
That's the same
Okay.
thing.
You guys are, I know you're common law partners, but that's her dog. Mm-hmm. Thanks to all of our great sponsors, Chateau Kitchens, Bailey & Wood Financial Group, IMCU, Love Heating and Cooling. Who am I missing? WGU Indiana.
WGU,
Don't want to
yep.
forget about them. And our buddy Jake Morris. Jake Morris did the whole show by himself today. No one could be here. Greg's on vacation. Rake had something pop up, and Jordan is directing a game tonight.
Jake Morris was a great pitcher for the Tigers.
So Jack Morris, who you're thinking of. Jake Morris flew solo today and did a wonderful job. So thanks to Jake for that. We'll see you next time, Monday. Query and Schultz. Have a great week, you guys. Bye.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Meet Kate. She has a lot to juggle. Family, work, it can lead to trying days and tired nights. But we know Kate, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know at some point her space at a premium life may change. IMCU is here to help Kate and you find your space. Now, add on or remodel with an introductory rate of 1.9% APR on a home equity line of credit. Today, it's all about Kate. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
McCulling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is caught.
There you
go.
go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh, my
goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Lynn's way.
That it is. Wrestler! Wrestler!